So I've had several requests by different people to have me explain how it is that I mark my scriptures. What they're asking is if I will explain the color coding system I'm using, but the colors really aren't important as the mental process that you go through. So recently I was asked by a friend to cover their class in Sunday school, and the chapters they asked me to cover I hadn't marked up yet in this new set of scriptures. So it gave me an opportunity to sort of illustrate the process, which more or less followed the same 4 steps every time. The first step is to simply determine who's speaking in the verse. Specifically, I color code all the pronouns. In this case, I refers to the Lord. It's pretty easy. But in the 2 verses just prior, I refers to the prophet, and he is speaking about his own people, referred to as them. And this prophet is preaching to a different group of people, referred to as you, that is actually comprised of 2 subgroups. So, to keep the subgroups straight, I marked the word you in those verses, and all the pronouns later that referred to them in 2 different colors. And I chose the color for one of those groups based on a particular story in their history. And I carried this process on down through the verses in the chapter so that I could clearly see who was talking about whom. The next part is to focus on the about, the key phrases or ideas that he's trying to communicate. And basically I'm highlighting phrases where I'm trying to define what he's talking about. In this case, the prophecy. Well, which prophecy? Which is sometimes illuminated by the other verses in the chapter, and sometimes not. Which brings us to the third step, which is follow all the footnotes. In this case, there isn't a specific footnote for the phrase, the prophecy, but I follow all the footnotes relating to that verse just in case. And that gives you an opportunity to do a similar color coding 3-step, 4-step process in the verses you find there. Or, if you're lucky, after a time of doing this, you'll hit a place where you've already marked it up and you have things to go on. Which ties into the 4th and final step, which is making your own footnotes. Which I start by just writing in the margins. In this case, I'm referencing both a promise and a prophecy that I read a little while ago, where Enoch and the Lord are discussing what happens to the future of humanity after the flood, as it specifically relates to Noah. That the right of the firstborn and the ancient relics would be handed down through Noah's lineage. And as always, most importantly, just follow the Spirit and where you're prompted to go. Because as I chased that prophecy promise through Enoch, down through Abraham, the house of Israel, and ultimately the destruction of Jerusalem, to a little group of refugees who came and settled in America, I learned why the prophet could speak with such surety regarding the future greatness of his own people, while having true fear for the destruction of the subgroups he was preaching to. He knew from studying his own scriptures that his people were in fact the remnant prophesied by Enoch, and of the promise of the future great role they have yet to play in the building of the New Jerusalem and the return of the King.